روز 21 مارس سال 2014 مصادف با اول فروردین ماه 1393 در 25مین نشست شورای حقوق بشر سازمان ملل متحد در شهر ژنو، سازمان غیردولتی سودویند در مورد فعالیت اقلیت‌های مذهبی و زندانیان سیاسی در جمهوری اسلامی ایران روادید موازی رو برگزار میکنه که اولین سخنران جلسه خانم دایان علایی هستند. ایشون نماینده جامعه جهانی بهایی در سازمان ملل که در مورد نقض حقوق بشر صحبت‌های خودشون رو شروع میکنن. اما قبل از اینکه ایشون صحبتاشون رو شروع کنن، می‌خواستم ازتون بخوام که اینجا به دلیلی که ما از برنامه عکس برداری و فیلم برداری میکنیم، دوستانی که مایل نیستن توی عکس یا فیلم باشن میتونن اعلام بکنن. در غیر این صورت در خدمتتون هستیم. بفرمایید خانم علایی.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to speak about the situation of the human rights situation of the Baha'is in Iran. As you know, in Iran, the Iranian government, and unfortunately still today, doesn't accept people who think differently than the people who are at the center of power. And for this reason, they put them in prison. And I am happy and honored to be sitting next to my two colleagues who will also be speaking about the situation of the Darwish Gonabadi and of the Mr. Burjerdi and his followers. And I want to say that the Baha'i International Committee stands in support of the situation of all the religious minorities in Iran and will defend violations for all of them until everybody is free to believe in whichever he likes to believe. There will not be human rights in Iran, and there will not be progress. And that is for also Christians and also to a lesser extent Jews and Zoroastrians. Now I think I have been asked by Sudwind to make you an update about the latest 6 months, because I think my colleague spoke last September about the situation of the Baha'is, and the situation unfortunately has not improved at all. What we have seen, I think the most, of course, sad and worrying situation was the situation of this Baha'i, the family of Mr. and Mrs. Moody and their daughter, who were at night stabbed very dangerously. I mean, you know, the gentleman was stabbed in his abdomen, and the lady had her throat stabbed, and by somebody who really wanted to kill them, an intruder who was masked. Fortunately, they were able to be taken to hospital and they are alive, although I'm sure that they're still suffering a lot of health issues. What is very frightening about this is that not only this happened, which is clearly a form of hatred because it was only for their religious belief, only because they were Baha'i, but also that the government to date has taken no steps in order to find the culprit and prosecute him. And this has been the case also in the case of Mr. Atollah Rezvani, who, as you know, my colleague already mentioned, was found dead, shot in the head in his car at the end of August in the city of Bandar Abbas. And again, to this date, the government is trying to brush off the case by making such ridiculous claim as that he committed suicide, which is impossible, as was very well said by his lawyer. So, I mean, impossible by facts, you know, not just by theory. Also by theory, because he was happy, he had no reason to commit suicide, but even the facts show that it was not possible for this death to be a suicide. So this is to show that basically the government of the Islamic of Iran, as we have mentioned, is doing a campaign to incite to hatred. And for example, recently also what has happened is that there was in Facebook a big campaign of photos of a man and a woman who were lying blood streaming from their body dead on the sidewalk. And then they had said that, you see, these people had gone to a Baha'i meeting, and because they were not in agreement with the Baha'is, they were killed. Whereas this photo was actually the photo of a love murder. The husband had killed the wife because she had an affair, and then he had killed himself. And they had taken this photo, and then they had put some other. So there is, and you know, there are films, and I know that my colleagues, we have repeated it. It's not only for the Baha'is. These films, these lies that they spread about all the various religious minorities are for all of us the same. But they create a situation where the incitement to hatred is just extremely strong against the Baha'is. The incitement to hatred, I have to say, not that it changes so much the people in Iran, because I will come back to that, but the incitement to hatred is so high, so that when government-orchestrated people commit murders, then they can blame it and say, well, you know, the people of Iran don't like the Baha'is, and that's why this man came and stabbed the Baha'is. But all this is completely wrong. Because what we have seen today, we have seen again very recently, just, I think it was about 10 days ago, 75 human rights defenders, writers, political activists, women's rights defenders, writers, have signed an open letter to Ayatollah Larijani, the head of the judiciary, and none of them were Baha'is, saying that, you know, please use Islamic justice also for the Baha'is. We're calling upon you. And this is very heartening, that these 7 persons, and among them I can tell you there was Mr. Saifzadeh, there was Mr. Nurizad, there was Dr. Maliki, there were a number of other people, there was Mrs. Nasrin Sotoudeh, and a number, I mean 75 of them, I can't name them all, you know, who really signed this open letter, and it was published on their sites. This is the reality of the situation in Iran. Honestly, when I look at all of you here, or particularly those who are Iranians and who are human rights defenders, I know that each and every one of them has come throughout this time to show their support for the situation of the Baha'is. And I think this is today the reality of Iran. The reality of Iran is that people in Iran are realizing that there are human rights violations, and they stand in solidarity with one another. And this is what will make the difference. And I think that it is very heartening for the Baha'is, who are, of course, as you very well know, I think in Iran everybody suffers human rights violations. But then also those of you who are familiar with the way the human rights work today is that there is what we call double or triple discrimination. So, you know, if you're just a man who is a Shia Muslim in Iran, you already suffer human rights violations. But if you're a woman who is from an ethnic minority, who is also a Baha'i, for example, then of course you will suffer multiple violations. And this is why the Baha'is are, because they're not protected in the constitution, because the government has an organized plan against them, they're the ones who are suffering, one of the groups that are suffering, not the only group, but one of the groups that are suffering the most because of this multiple discrimination. Just briefly, so that we also have time for discussion, I would like to raise a few points just to give you the latest. Today, there are 136 Baha'is who are in prison only because they're Baha'is. And I know that Mr. Larijani just recently, not Sadegh, but Jawad, said that, no, actually it's not him, it's in the right of reply. Here, the delegate of the Islamic Republic of Iran, right here in this council room, said that if Baha'is are in prison, it's because they've committed a crime. No. If Baha'is are in prison, it's because they're Baha'is. And even their accusations, the reason why they're in prison is clearly stated. There is no common crime or anything like that they have been in prison. Go in their files and look. Even the judiciary knows very well that this is not. Of course, it's made up excuses that are for everybody else, acting against national security, belonging to an illegal organization, which is the Baha'i Faith, that illegal organization, because opposite to what the Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Religion or Belief has said, no government has the right to decide what is a religion and what is not. This is a given situation within the human rights of freedom of religion or belief. But yet, the Iranian government has decided that the Baha'i Faith is an illegal organization. And and these sorts of baseless accusations they have raised against these 136 people who are in prison. Unfortunately, also, I must say that Baha'i youth are still not allowed to go to university. They're still not allowed to study in Iranian universities. Most of the time, when they register, after they pass the entry exam, when they register to go to university, their file says, file incomplete BAH. It says what it says. And then, but those who sometimes can enter university are never allowed to finish their study, because at one point or another, if the university finds out that they're Baha'is, then they're expelled. So, no, to date, no Baha'i youth has been able to finish his studies at university. And as you very well know, the Baha'is have created this sort of, home-based, grassroots-based institute of higher education to be able for the Baha'i youth to be able to study through internet or other means, in a very sort of grassroots level. And even that, the government is not accepting. So, if the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran thinks that every time a Baha'i sits in a classroom, he's going to absolutely convert his neighbor, which is not what's going to happen, because we believe in freedom of religion and belief. We believe that everybody has the right to choose or not to choose what he likes or dislikes. But even if they imagine they believe that, then why are they attacking the Institute of Baha'i, the Baha'i Institute of Higher Education? This is only Baha'is together. They're not going to convert one another. So it means that there is more than this to it. And it's really a plan not to allow Baha'i youth to be able to progress in society, to be able to study, and to keep them at a very low level, and then have no jobs, because when they have shops, their shops are sealed, or they cannot work in the public sector, etc., etc. So this is the situation to date, and I've been told that I have just a few minutes to finish, but I wanted to say that even the dead are not allowed to be able to rest in peace. You know that Baha'i cemeteries have been bulldozed, and again, it is impossible for the Iranian government or the authorities to say that it is unknown people who do that. How in the Islamic Republic of Iran is it possible to at night bring big bulldozers without the police or the security service knowing that these big bulldozers are now bulldozing a whole cemetery? It's impossible. Therefore, it means that there are at least some organs in the government, and pretty high ones, who are aware of it and are pretty much in favor of this happening. What does it mean to have a cemetery? Is it so bad? In the city of Tabriz, one Baha'i was told that one Baha'i family were accused of teaching the Baha'i faith because they had gone to put flowers on the tomb of their father who had died. So imagine the extent of the intolerance of the Iranian government. Mr. Rouhani has made claims saying that, there will be human rights for all citizens. We hope that maybe this year, since today is our Nowruz, it's the beginning of a new year, we hope that this year we will see improvements in the situation, not only of the Baha'is, but of all the human rights in Iran. Thank you very much.
تشکر میکنیم از سرکار خانم دایان علایی. دعوت کنم از آقای رضا پیشنامی، سخنران دوم ما. ایشون نماینده سازمان پاسداشت حقوق بشر در ایران هستند که در مورد دراویش گنابادی سخنان خودشون رو آغاز می‌کنند. بفرمایید.
با عرض سلام و تشکر از سازمان سودویند برای برگزاری این جلسات. ظلم و